Today we are taking a look at Legacy Dragstrip, the first Snugdacon out of the gates, and probably the most unique. Welcome back to Hobbies with Jose, everybody. Great to have you back. As we start making our road towards Menasor, we're going to start by taking a look at Legacy Dragstrip. And as always, starting with the box. I kind of threw them away. But that's okay. Through the magic of the interwebs, we can take a look at one here. And I always do have to admire the gorgeous colors that they use for the Legacy box art. The colors really pop, and you can just feel the speed of the race car just barreling towards you. Plus, having those mounted weapons blasting right at you can be fun too. But it does look so good. And of course, the essential renders you'd expect on the back of both bot and vehicle mode. Hasbro giving us a promise of Menasor, and letting us know he transforms in 17 steps. There's a beautiful look at bot mode on the side too. I absolutely believe this belongs in a museum. It's so good that it kind of feels wasted to just live its life on the side of a box. Why hasn't Hasbro given us an art book of all of these beautiful pieces? Talk about leaving money on the table here. I for one would absolutely snatch that up. Alright, enough JPEGs though. Here we have Legacy Dragstrip in all of his bot mode glory. And while I may not be completely familiar with this character, overall he looks fantastic. But certainly very yellow. Could you just imagine if Dragstrip was the face of Transformers?
Charlie Watson.
I'm Dragstrip.
Yeah, maybe it's a good thing they didn't do that. So maybe he doesn't have what it takes to be IRL kid friendly. But this guy certainly has style. He surprisingly accomplishes two things. The fact that he's primarily one color really brings the panel lining details to bear, along with extra molding detail that you see just about everywhere, without going to the extent of siege characters. Because those lower leg sections become the bottom of the vehicle, we see some exhaust piping molded in there, which perfectly makes sense. Unfortunately though, there is a gaping hole on the inside of that leg. Some kind of an aftermarket kit filler would technically help, but you wouldn't be able to add one permanently since you need that space for the transformation. Being able to see the internal knee mechanics is not very cool, but the overall proportions of Dragstrip are really spot on. If you just didn't know that this guy was a combiner, you probably wouldn't be able to figure that out yourself. That just speaks to how well it's designed. It keeps pretty true to the G1 design by having those double wheels over the shoulders, but it's not being overly slavish to G1 as well, so it does make some key changes. The sides of the vehicle do remain over the forearms, and so you might think they're a little bit kibbleish, but I think they accomplish two things. One, they add a bit of color with those nice red stripes running down the side. And two, because you already have those tires on the shoulders, it keeps that thickness on the arms running all the way to the fists, pretty much unifying the look of the whole arm. Unfortunately, because it does go over the fist, we do lack some wrist rotation. But another key change, and probably the biggest, is what it does with what becomes the front of the race car. In G1, that piece just pretty much swings back and becomes back kibble. In Legacy, however, it nicely splits apart, giving us a very unique looking design. I really do dig that. Just adds a bit of character to this guy. And it also continues a red stripe running along the side, along with a darker mustard color spread over the top. Unfortunately, that Decepticon symbol is now split in half and it's upside down. Kind of a double negative here. In the G1 show, he did have a Decepticon symbol displayed over his right shoulder, but I guess they couldn't be bothered to add one here, unfortunately. That'll definitely be getting a fix. Speaking of fixes, while those shoulder wheels are properly placed, they are unfortunately attached via those mushroom pegs split down the middle. And that is just so unsightly, it does not look good at all. But again, that will be fixed via aftermarket parts. Interestingly enough, while that red racing stripe is molded on the vehicle via panel lines, it got molded onto the feet as well, but again, they couldn't bother to paint it. And it's clear it was meant to be a racing stripe, as you can see from the bottom of the feet. Of course it's going to get fixed as well. You know this, right? Yes, you do. So other than all of the yellows and mustards and reds, he also has a bit of silver in the center. It very clearly represents what's supposed to be the engine of the vehicle. Ironically enough, in G1 it looked very much just like a Lego brick in there. But if you look at the vehicle it was based off of, the 1976 Tyrrell Cosworth P34, it doesn't look... Wait. What? That's totally a Lego brick. I retract what I said. But thankfully for the Legacy version, they've added much more detail to it. And it looks quite nice. What's funny though is that this is a fake engine. I mean, this whole thing is fake, but you know what I mean. On the back of the legs, you actually see what becomes the actual engine for vehicle mode. And even though it does have sufficiently engine detail added to it, that does look like a Lego. Oh, also, Dragstrip's an airhead? No, not because he's blonde yellow, come on. The back of his head is completely hollow. Now this travesty is normally reserved for core class figures. Hot Rod's a total airhead. There is a reason why he was designed this way, and that is to serve as a quasi-seat in vehicle mode. Now does it succeed in that? We'll find out in a bit. But I like the head sculpt itself. It's certainly accurate to the G1 cartoon, while adding just a little bit of extra panel lining detail. I did notice, however, in the G1 cartoon he has more of a light bluish tint to his face. But I guess Hasbro decided it was a bit too much color to add to the figure, and so they went with standard silver, which I do think looks great. But on a positive note, he is packing some double-wielded heat. And these two blasters are exquisitely designed and lifted right out of the G1 cartoon. They have this gorgeous chromy purple paint applied that really makes them just stand out. And you can also connect both weapons to form one double-barreled blaster. While this does look great, it does leave some pretty massive holes on the weapons, and since I personally don't plan to ever display them with the weapons connected, I may opt to just cut out the extra pegs, fill in the holes, and just have a more solid look for the weapons. I think he looks so much better wielding one in each hand anyways. Even though Dragstrip is lacking wrist rotation, everything else is just about what you'd expect. Full rotation at the head, although it's a bit tricky to get a hold of. Arms can fold out 90 if you move the top shoulder section. Full shoulder rotation, full bicep swivel, and more than 90 at the elbows. Full 360-degree rotation at the waist. Legs can rotate forward that far, and back that far, and do the full splits. Full thigh rotation, and 90 degrees at the knees, and a full 90-degree ankle tilt. So, does this awesomely proportioned and detailed bot mode have an equally awesome vehicle mode? Well, let's find out. The short answer is yes. Yes, he does. This is just a fantastic rendition of Dragstrip's vehicle mode, which once again does not look like it will be part of any combiner whatsoever. Those red stripes are now aligned on the side, giving us a much needed color, as well as showing up much more prominently on top too. The engine that was previously on the back of the legs is now joined together to display beautifully on the vehicle. But unfortunately, what used to be the fake engine in robot mode is still peeking through a bit in the driver's section. There's no real detailing added to make it look like a dashboard or a steering wheel, so that does detract a bit from the whole look. And the head. Still very clearly visible, and the makeshift seat that it's supposed to imply doesn't really work, only because the top of the head completely blocks where the rest of the driver's body would go. It really is just a minor thing though, and it kind of depends on what angle you're viewing the vehicle from. But that Decepticon symbol is now thankfully united and proudly displayed in the front. That looks fantastic. Unfortunately, I'm now realizing why they didn't add a Decepticon symbol to the bot mode shoulder, as here in the vehicle mode it would still be very much visible. Maybe I won't get to fix that? Damn it! But the overall look of the vehicle is just fantastic, and it's a very satisfying transformation that gives us a solid vehicle. But the one section that does vaguely hint at the eventual combiner mode are these middle hooks here. If they're not properly tabbed into place, you can have a little bit of looseness, but simply tightening them in will remedy that, giving us that all-around solid vehicle. We also have two peg holes on top to attach the weapons, and while I normally don't care for vehicles with weapons attached, this looks badass, and Dragstrip would totally use these weapons to win any race. Plus, I may very well display them as such in combiner mode, so those peg holes are definitely staying. Now because he is so low to the ground, it can be tricky for all 6 wheels to make contact and roll, but surprisingly still, nothing is blocking from getting in the way of a nice movement, and that's really impressive on its own. But the uniqueness of Dragstrip, he's the one vehicle you probably won't find on a regular city street, and this legacy version gives us a superb bot mode as well as a vehicle mode that I can't wait to see with a fresh coat of paint. So those are my thoughts on Legacy Dragstrip, an excellent little figure that accomplishes quite a bit, nonetheless with some shortcomings that we can hopefully fix, which I can't wait to get started with that. Hey, thank you all so much for watching, though I do appreciate it. As always, if you like what you saw, hit that like and subscribe, leave a nice comment. You can catch me on other social medias, links are down below. I'll start posting updates on the customization, so hope you look forward to that. You can support the channel by becoming a member and using some awesome emotes, or head on over to the merch store for some great stuff there. But you can definitely support by heading over to patreon.com/hobbies with Jose and picking a tier that's right for you. You can even suggest a project and interrupt our road to Menasor. It can happen. You can also catch me live on Fridays and weekends over on Twitch, where we are still making some great progress in Tears of the Kingdom, and on Pixel Megatron 2.0 too. But I will see you all real soon. Take care, everyone.